Welcome to a new daily top Askreddit video. Today's topic: what job allows no fuck-ups? The person who checks the safety harness on a bungee jump. I did a rock climbing wall with my friend when we were 18. They messed up and didn't secure her harness. I watched her fall from the very top. 2 weeks in the hospital. 2 months in rehab. It was awful. Edit so I don't have to reply individually to everyone. This was about 10 years ago. It was 2 months, if I remember correctly, in a rehab center and then continued physical therapy for a while. It was at a resort that has stuff like the alpine slide, trams, a zipline, a rock climbing wall, etc. I'm guessing it was a 40 to 50 feet, 14 to 15 meters, drop. They paid all of her medical bills and an additional $100,000 so she wouldn't sue. She took it without a fight because her and her family didn't want a big long drawn-out process. She's mostly fine now. She got some finger numbness where they messed up her nerves in surgery. Also still has pins in her pelvic bone that could potentially cause issues with a pregnancy /birth. We both used to work as lifeguards at the same pool. A year or so after it happened, they bought this iceberg rock climbing thingy to go in the big pool. She got panic attacks from even thinking about having to climb it. We were told we need to know how to climb it ourselves in case we needed to help a kid down. I'm sure neither of us will ever do any sort of climbing thing again. As far as proof, I don't think any news articles were done about it. I might be able to find a picture of her in rehab with her arm casts, but I wouldn't know how to upload it here and I don't want to invade her privacy. Hope I didn't miss any of the questions. That's terrifying. She's lucky she didn't end up under 2 yards of dirt. There's one instance that a dude said no jump and the girl thought he said now jump so she jumped to her death. That's exactly why in any job with high risks or lots of noise around you should avoid sentences containing no and don't as much as possible. There can always be some words that are overhead so it's way safer to use the opposite / positive word like stay here which can't be misunderstood like don't jump. Underwater welder. And they have the fatality rate statistics to prove it. Edit, holy crap, I did not expect this to blow up like it did. This has been very educational. I actually didn't know much about the field, just knew it had the highest fatality rate among all jobs in the US. I will be turning off notifications on this. I cannot possibly answer everyone, but thank for replying, all. Saturation divers in general, any time you need to be that deep for that long, any screw up can be the last one you make. Underwater cave diving is generally thought of as being similarly dangerous, however nowadays you can be trained and if you spend the time to learn and understand how to avoid the main risks, you can do it relatively safely. Shout out to Dive Talk. Edit, formatting and punctuation. Diver in training en route to becoming cave diver right here. 100%, most people think if you go in an underwater cave you're bound to die. That's true, only if you're not properly trained for it. If you get the correct training then the risk is dropped dramatically. But in reality, any kind of tech diving can be 1 or 2 fuck-ups away from death. We have to respect the caves and water. You're not kidding. I have a bud who did this job, and he very nearly lost his life. I'm not 100% on the details, but from what I remember there was an issue with the oxygen supply. His partner, they dive in teams, panicked and made them surface too quickly. They both got the bends. The partner died, my bud almost did and was in hospital for months. He didn't return to the role, much to the relief of his family. And me. The sad thing is he probably wouldn't have had a choice in returning to the role. As far as I'm aware, medical advice following recovering from the bends, even if you're only in hospital for a much shorter stay, is that you don't dive again. Like ever. I know it's good for all his loved ones to not be doing something so dangerous which nearly cost him his life. But on the other hand, most divers love diving, so it's also quite sad. I did a quick Google, saw that the higher end of underwater welder yearly salary was $80,000. I fucking hope that's not true. Don't get me wrong, $80,000 is a lot of money and could change the lives of many families. But there are people moving numbers around in the financial sector making $80,000 as a, disappointing to them, Christmas bonus. Please don't tell me we pay the people who weld metals underwater like God's $80,000 a year. You should only have to do that shit for like 10 years and be easily set for life if you want. I'm pretty sure this depends on what gas you're using and how deep you go. I think the really dangerous ones can earn like $170,000 a year. the guys who use diving bells and have to remain in pressurized capsules aboard the ships to acclimate to the gas and pressure make significantly more. For a lot of underwater welders they only work 6 months of the year, so I think the $80,000 is for half a year. My old scout master did this and would just relax for the time off, but some get other jobs so they end up making 6 figures easy. The people who climb and repair those radio towers. My brother fell off one of the towers while working on it. His harness luckily caught him and they got him down and he was immediately fired. What did he do wrong? Lost his grip and fell. If he didn't have his safety harness on he would have died, and that's a huge liability most employers are not willing to deal with, so yeah, if you fall once it's a done deal. My son worked for a roofing company one summer. The boss told him, there is only one rule, if you fall off a roof you are fired before you hit the ground. Sounds like they'll fight not to pay medical. Bomb Squad Expert. Bomb Squad slogan, if you see me running, try to keep up. A sergeant in motion outranks a lieutenant who doesn't know what's going on. A running ordnance technician outranks everyone. Best thing I've heard to explain bomb experts are: either you get it right or suddenly it's not your problem anymore. Initial success or total failure. Air traffic control. At one point, IIRC, it was ranked the most stressful job in the world based on number of decisions per minute. You're responsible for a lot of lives. We do have a lot of lives in our hands, but we do mess up occasionally. We are human after all. We fix it and move on. There are a lot of backup systems in place to make sure everyone is safe. As a pilot I'd also like to add we don't follow directions blindly, so we are part of the backup system. Except in London airspace. There you do as you're told and pray. Breaking Bad definitely taught me about this one, lol. Astronaut. If you mess up in space it's usually bad. Oh lord, imagine drifting away from Earth like there is no return, scary stuff. I always wanted to drift forever, but through the American Southwest. Some days that sounds like the dream. Edit, thank you concerned Redditor, but I assure you, I'm fine. This was just a joke. Air traffic controller. My uncle was an air traffic controller until the mandatory retirement, got his start in the Air Force as a controller in Da Nang during Vietnam. He has this unnatural calm about him and is the kind of guy you would want with you when things hit the fan. My SOS uncle was an air traffic controller in Da Nang during the war. Wonder if he worked with your uncle. State intention is probably my favorite phrase in the entire English language, a calm and collected acknowledge probably second. Shit just hitting the metaphorical fan, on fire, chaos, critical systems failing, whole thing has just completely gone to fuck, mere moments from potential death or mass loss of life you get back acknowledged, state intention. It's basically no emotional reaction and I understand things haven't gone well for you, fight to your last, tell me what you're gonna do about it and I'll make way for it to happen, spoken in as few words as possible. I learned the ATCs at a nearby military base only do 4-hour days because they can't allow any dips in performance. Makes the job sound super stressful. N9042F, you are cleared for takeoff runway 22. N2043A, you are cleared for landing runway 4. Wait. My buddy was in the Air Force. He eventually got a job as an air traffic controller. I remember him telling me that he only worked a few hours a day, maybe something like 4 or 6 hours. I forget, and that he wasn't allowed to work them consecutively, that you had to take breaks after a few hours of work. I think he made something like $130,000 or $150,000 a year. I remember thinking that it was insane how much he made for working such few hours, but then he told me that he didn't think he'd be sticking around doing the job for much longer because it was the most stressful thing he had to do, and that he couldn't imagine doing it long term. He ended up quitting after a few years and took on a huge pay cut, but he was thrilled that the consequences to any mistakes he'd make at his new job was so minor that he didn't have any stress at all. My cousin went to school for it and studied his ass off, graduated, and landed an entry-ish position at a small-time airport. He didn't last more than a few months at it though, said it was too stressful. I can't imagine being one at a major airport, those people must have nerves of steel, or a lot of antipsychotics. A friend I play board games with is an air traffic controller. If you want easy wins, meet up with him after his shift. That job is taxing. Aesthesiologist. My cousin is an aesthesiologist at a teaching hospital. He has some stories. people with multiple pre-existing conditions, the complex cocktails of meds and monitoring needed. Not a profession that tolerates mistakes. And you don't lie to your aesthesiologist. They don't care if you recreationally use opioids or pot or something even heavier. Not disclosing to them could be fatal. People really underestimate the responsibilities of an aesthesiologist. One mistake could literally kill you. Or wake you up at a really bad time. Luckily I woke up as I was being wheeled into the recovery room. But I heard stories of people waking up in the middle of open heart surgery, for example. Putting people to sleep is easy. Waking people up is what pays the big dollars.